Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on the Scially Stats YouTube channel. And today, this is the day. This is what you've all been waiting for, my final national predictions. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to start at the bottom here and work my way up. In this video, what I'll probably end up doing is only doing places 60 through 21. And then I'm going to do the top 20 in the next video because I'm going to want to explain those a little more. But first, I want to go over some things. So first, in my last video, I didn't mention Nebraska state results. These happened. The Nebraska state tournament happened. The Nebraska state tournament happened the same weekend that PA and Ohio actually happened. But I didn't talk about it because, A, I didn't wait for it to come out. I thought I should, get the video on PA and Ohio out since they're such important states nationally. Yeah, that was basically the reason. I just didn't want to wait. But they did happen, and I don't have them on here. Are they even on Duosmium? Did we ever get? Okay, well, they're not on Duosmium, so that's nice. I think we know who won, though. Maybe. Yes, here we go. Congratulations to Lincoln Science Focus Program from Nebraska for being the state champion. I don't know what score they got. And speaking of not knowing what scores states got, well, okay, I'll talk about that later, actually. Let me mention this real quick. So I think I mentioned in my last video that all of these schools, well, these are Michigan, these two schools, Pembroke Hill and West Winston-Plainsboro North, are being invited to nationals because two more states dropped out. They couldn't send teams. We now know those states. Those are Idaho, Mississippi, South Dakota, and North Dakota. So these states will not be represented at nationals, and instead other schools from different states are filling in their place. Now, let's talk about this. So you can see I have a new color on here, purple. And what this purple color means is that we have very little data on these schools. You can see towards the bottom of the list, I have a bunch of comments going over like the few things that I could find on the school. Some of these schools I literally found nothing on. They didn't release state results. They didn't release state results from last year. They didn't attend nationals. They didn't attend nationals last year. They didn't attend any invitationals. So some of these schools we literally have nothing on. So as you can imagine, that made it pretty hard to make predictions about the bottom, I'd say probably bottom 20. It made it really hard to make predictions on a lot of these schools down here. So yeah, some of these are pretty much a shot in the dark. I'll let you know which schools that is when we get there. But yeah, let's get started because I'm going to be talking a lot this video. I might even have to like stop it at the bottom 30 and then go over like the top 30 in the next video. We'll see. We'll see what I can do here. So starting us off in that I have, one more thing really quick. I want to say that my predictions should not influence how your team performs. If you are a member of any of these teams and I am, I'm saying that, your team hasn't performed well this year or that I have them predicted in a much lower spot than you'd expect or that you hoped for, I should say, that should not influence how you do at nationals. Any one of these teams, theoretically, any one of these teams can do amazing at nationals. For example, I have Nelton West from Arkansas in last place. Who knows? They might be fantastic for somehow, and they might get in the top 10. Theoretically, that's possible. But just given what we've seen so far this year, it's not likely. And given how this state typically performs at nationals, it's not likely. But yeah, I mean, and especially as we get into the top 20 here, a lot of these places, I thought about even adding another category over here saying like giving a confidence interval. So for example, for like Madison West, I might say, Okay, it's 13th, but plus or minus 2 places. So if I got it anywhere, so I would expect them to fall anywhere from 15th to 11th. And if I got it anywhere in that range, I would be happy. If the actual results confirm, okay, so they actually got 12th, I would be happy then. I mean, if I'm predicting they got 13th, they actually get 12th, I'll still be happy. But regardless, I'm talking too long already. So let's get started here. Nelton West from Arkansas, I'm predicting will get last place. And this is a school that we literally have nothing on. They didn't even have state results from this year. And yeah, this something about Arkansas. I didn't know that they were even the state champions until Sentient Tree on Discord sent me his predictions, and I saw Nelton West on there. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's the Arkansas state champion. They got second to last at nationals last year, and I don't really have high hopes for them this year. And I can't give them the benefit of the doubt because we have zero data on them. We have nothing. In contrast to Baton Rouge Magnet from Louisiana. Last year, they got dead last at nationals. Yeah, they got dead last at nationals last year. So obviously not a very strong school here. They attended Rickards, which they did very poorly at. They attended Boyceville Satellite, which they also did very poorly at. Yeah, and you can see the rankings I have here for Boyceville. That's really annoying how it keeps jumping to the bottom. They did slightly worse at their state competition this year. And the only reason that I don't think they will be last this year is because their goal at nationals this year is probably just to not get last. I mean, if my team was in last place at nationals and we went back to nationals the next year and I was the coach for that team, that would be my only goal. That would be all I tell my team is just don't get last. So I think they're really going to put in some work to make that happen. But I don't, as you can see, I don't expect them to do too much better. Moving on to Kelly Wash from Wyoming. Yeah, similar to Arkansas, I didn't even know this was the Wyoming state champion until Sentient Tree shared it with me. And again, we have no data on them. So Wyoming as a state got 54th last year. But since this is actually a new comer to nationals, they were not here last year. I don't know if this is their first time at nationals or not, but they weren't here last year. So they don't have that experience, so I've just decided to bump them down, Again, these bottom 20 are super speculative. So I don't know. For one of these, I even put the shrug emoticon. You'll see. Moving on to Hamilton from Montana. They did worse at states this year, much worse, in fact, going from 53 to 76 in a very small state. Can we see Montana state results on here real quick? How many teams attended this? Let's see. Okay, Montana actually has more teams attending here than I expected. Yeah, wow, 33 teams that actually competed and stuff. That's kind of crazy for such a small state. But anyway, yeah, they did much worse at states this year. They got 55th last year, so I'll move them down a few places. Again, I don't know. It's whatever. Lincoln Science Focus Program from Nebraska. Like I said, congratulations for being the Nebraska state champion, but I don't think they'll do very well this year. They didn't attend nationals last year, so again, they don't have that experience going back into it. They attended Rickards, which they did poorly at, but they managed to beat Baton Rouge Magnet, so I've put them ahead of Baton Rouge for that reason. Again, still not great, but at least you're beating Baton Rouge. Next, Jesuit from Oregon. They didn't attend any invitationals, and they didn't attend nationals last year. Oregon got 53rd last year at nationals, so I've just moved them down 2 places because I think that some of these other teams are just a little bit better. Burr and Burton Academy from Vermont. This one we actually do have some data on them. An island of white and a sea of purple here. Yeah, with less teams we're starting off negative though. With less teams attending their state competition, they managed to score higher, which really means lower. They got a higher score, which means, they did worse with less teams attending. They did poorly at both Cornell and Capital Region, but not necessarily as poorly as you'd expect for this team. Maybe I can show you real quick. I can already tell this video is going to go on way past 30 minutes, so I might need to split this into like 4 parts or something. But yeah, capital area regional or region, they got 25th, which again isn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not quite as bad as you'd expect. And Cornell 45th, again, not too terrible, especially considering one of Lower Merion's teams got 21st. So, not the worst, but definitely not the best. Next, moving on to Albuquerque Academy. They did much worse at states this year, going from 88 points down to 105. They got 50th at nationals last year, attended no invitationals this year. So I just put them a little lower just because of their worst state performance. Next, the Cassidy School from Oklahoma. They didn't have state results from last year, so I couldn't compare them. They attended one invitational with no other nationals teams. In fact, that one invitational was actually just Oklahoma teams. At least all Oklahoma teams were in the top 5 here. And you can see this is the only data point we have on them. So can't really gather anything from that. They got 47th at nationals last year. I don't know. Like I said, I think some of these schools just by process of elimination bump them down a little bit. But like I said, these last couple places are just really tough to predict. Next, Alabama School of Fine Arts. And for them, they didn't attend nationals last year. So again, Alabama has a new state champion this year, which is Alabama School of Fine Arts. And last year's state results aren't public, so I can't compare. They also didn't attend invitationals, so we have nothing on them other than this year's state performance, which isn't good because, again, I can't compare it to anything. I can't compare them from out-of-state teams since it's a state tournament, like there are no out-of-state teams. So I just gave them more or less the same rank as they did last year. Just a little bit lower because, like I said, there are just some other teams that I think are just a little bit better here. So Clinton from South Carolina, I'm predicting will get 50th. They did worse at states this year. I didn't put the number in here for some reason. They did decently at High Deserts, very poorly at Soaps, and okay at Siali Outreach for UGA. I can show you some of those places here real quick. Here we have High Desert. Again, this is actually a decent ranking here. Then at Soaps, they did very poorly. Again, I think this was actually like close to last place here. Let's see if we can get that real quick once I spell it right. Here we go. Where are they? Here we go. Yeah, 26th. Okay, so it's not super close to the bottom, but yeah, certainly not very good. And then Siali Outreach, they did kind of okay. So I've just kind of averaged it out at 50th. I've said I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and put them quite a bit ahead of last year's nationals performance. So again, Sentient Tree shared with me a really good philosophy for making prediction videos. And that is that a team's best performance should be weighted way more heavily than their worst performance. That shows a team at their best. That shows what they can do when they're bringing all their best people. But a team's worst performance, they could have been missing some people. They could have been unstacked. So yeah, it's better to go with their best performance. That's why I've given them the benefit of the doubt here. Next, Lebanon from New Hampshire. So Barrington, I actually, as I was making this, I went down the list. So I said similar to Barrington. We'll get to Barrington. But they didn't do well at MIT. They did attend MIT, though. Some of these other New England, state champions attended MIT. So that was good for comparison between each other. But when all teams not attending nationals that attended MIT are removed, they would have gotten 23rd. Doesn't seem so bad after all now, does it? It's still pretty bad, but, they also did much worse at Harvard undergrad, and I couldn't find state results for them for this year, so I really have no idea if they'll do better or worse. Nationals, again, let's see here. Where did New Hampshire fall last year? Here we go. Yeah, 52nd. Yeah, I've given them a little bit better of placing here. Next, Waterford from Utah. We literally have nothing on them, not even national results from last year because Utah had a different team. I was going to put them in the same as in the same place Utah was last year, but I think some other teams have demonstrated that they're a little bit better than Utah was last year. So I've put those teams ahead of Waterford. But in the end, I really have no idea. Next, moving on to Charter School of Wilmington. From Delaware. They just competed at Princeton, and I have their state competitions from this year and last year, and last year's Nats. Princeton, yeah, they got demolished. I'll show you that real quick. There we go, 37th. Yeah, not the greatest. um, Although they beat the 8th place team in New Jersey, so there is that. And just barely gotten beaten out by the 4th place team in Maryland. So yeah, still not very good. They did a little bit better at states this year, but again, I really have no clue. I've just averaged it out at 47th here. Next, in 46, I'm predicting University from Arizona. The only thing I have written here is they did worse at states, so they'll likely do worse at Nats. That's really all we have on them. Again, they have this purple highlighting. I know nothing. Next, Basis Independent from DC. We don't have DC results to look at, and this marks the last state that I didn't even know the state champion of before Sentient Tree sent me his prediction list. So yeah, again, I didn't even know the state champion here before he sent me that. So I had really no clue, or have no clue really, where they're going to be. We do have an invitational here. Langley beats Basis pretty badly at Fairfax, and they aren't expected to do great otherwise this year, so I've moved Basis down a little bit. Langley, by the way, I don't have in a super strong position. I have them at 33rd. Not terrible, but yeah. Next, Wayne Fletta from Maine. Yeah, that's definitely how you pronounce that. So I have state results from this year, but I don't have ones from last year to compare to. And I basically just have last year's Nats. And last year at Nats, let's just look at this here because I don't have it written down. They got 42nd. So this year I put them in 44th. So yeah, and again, just because I think some of these other teams are just a little bit better this year. Morgantown from West Virginia, I'm predicting will take 43rd. We don't even have their state results from this year, and they got 40th last year, so they'll probably have a fairly similar performance this year. Again, I've moved them down just because of some of these other teams up here doing better. Ravenwood from Tennessee. Again, no invitationals, just last year's nationals and state competitions. Whoops. They did better at states this year. They went from 96 to 87, and they got 38th last year at nationals. The trouble is we know other teams are just a little bit better this year, so I've just moved them down. South Windsor. So they improved a little bit at states, going from, actually, that's not a little bit. I'd say that's a decent margin. Going from 127 to 107. And if we, so what place did they get last year at nationals? Whoopsies. Actually, I'll put this here. Last year at nationals, they got 39th. This year, I'm predicting 41st. So let's see. I know we have some invitational results for them. I think they attended MIT, actually. Yeah, so capital area, they beat Burr and Burton Academy. So there's that. They actually didn't do super bad when super scored here, so maybe they deserve to be a little higher. I don't know. Cornell, yeah, they got kind of demolished. Again, beat Burr and Burton Academy, so there's that, I guess. They also beat Ruston, which is kind of interesting. And Yale Underground as well. Again, super scored. They get 7th, not really beating anyone of note there. But yeah, so I've just put them at 41st. What do you want from me? Blue Valley North from Kansas. Yeah, here you go. They did a little worse at states this year, just a little bit though, not a significant margin at all. So I don't know. They'll probably do a little worse at nationals this year. I don't know. This emoticon really just sums up the bottom 20-ish of this list, and even into the top 30. I really had no idea for some of these teams. So Barrington, this is the last one that I have a comment on. So hopefully I can manage to say something about all of these other states. I have some up here, or all these other teams. So they got 45th at MIT, which isn't great. This is what I was talking about earlier. But when you remove all the teams that beat them at MIT but that aren't going to nationals, and like I said, and you remove the B teams and second teams that other better teams that are going to nationals sent, they ended up in 21st. They also did significantly better at their state competition this year. So, what did they get last year at nationals? Let's check this here. Where are they? Here they are. Yeah, 48th. Pretty significant improvement I'm expecting from them. So Ames from Iowa. Let's see. Do we have anything over here? We do. We have one thing, Boyceville Satellite, where they actually beat Homeschool Science, which I have ahead of them here. Just a little bit ahead of them. Again, this gap is not significant at all. 4 points when they're both in the thousands, almost 2,000 points there. A 4-point gap is nothing. But yeah, I mean, just not really a very strong state overall. Iowa, whoopsies. Let's see where Iowa was last year. I know Iowa's abbreviation. Don't worry about it. Come on. There we go. Yeah, 37th last year, so 38th this year. Why not, Mountains View from Minnesota, I'm predicting will get, what place was that? 37th. We do have a thing here, Boyceville in person, from December 2nd, so a pretty old tournament here, but it's really all we have, so, bear with me. They did decent here, though, not the best, but certainly not the worst. They got pretty close to Madison West's second team. Madison West, of course, is a school that I have much higher up here. But again, at this tournament, Madison West was very likely unstacked. So, yeah. Mountains View, I'm not expecting too much from them here. Let's see here what they got last year. 32nd. And I have them in 37th. I don't know. Maybe they deserve to be higher here. This really isn't a bad performance here at Boyceville. Again, state competitions, I don't have anything to compare them to, or at least I didn't write it down. So yeah. Moving on to Edward Clark. So this was a school that I was a little conflicted. I think I just have them as no. Wait, what do I? Oh, I think it's that. There we go. I should put that in here. Why don't I have that in here? There we go. So yeah, this was a school that I was a little conflicted over. Last year at nationals, they got 30th. So decent, performance there. Not bad. This year, I'm expecting them to drop quite a bit. And let's go through here and look at this. So Northwest, again, they managed to beat both of New Trier's teams. When they're, combined, they don't come close to beating New Trier, but, beating unstacked New Trier, that's fairly notable. Although this was by far New Trier's worst tournament performance, so not really too much there. At Soup, they did absolutely horrendous. Yeah, really just not a good score here. And even when they're super scored, I should have wrote down what place this would have gotten them. In fact, we actually have this here. So let's super score this real quick and look. So, oh, wait, did I miss them? Wait. Oh, this is Soup. Whoops, I'm stupid. Hold on. Let me, there we go. Let's do that, and then let's super score, and now let's see what happens here. Yeah, still not very good, 20th. So, yeah, really just not a good performance there. Golden Gate, again, just not a good performance. They even got beat by Davidson Academy by a pretty significant margin. I remember when this first came out, I was thinking, wow, is Davidson Academy going to be the Nevada State champion this year? Ended up not being, but still, not a good performance there. Yellow Jacket, decent performance. Chattahoochee beat them by quite a bit, though. Um, Again, when you super score them, they do better. But when you super score Chattahoochee, oh, I didn't even realize there's a second Chattahoochee team here. So still, just not a good performance. Birdso in person, again, not a very good performance here. They beat a Monte Vista team. That was almost certainly Monte Vista's B team or something, or even maybe their C team. I don't know. And then we're back to Northwest. So really just not good performances all around here for Edward Clark. So I'm putting them pretty significantly lower than last year. Again, Edward Clark, prove me wrong. Do better than I'm predicting. Next, homeschool science. So this was a team that's from Colorado. They got 33rd last year. This year I'm predicting 35th. So let's check them out here. We do have some results here. High Desert, they managed to get third at. Jordan, I mean, considering how good of a team Jordan is this year, that's a decent, they got decently. I shouldn't say they didn't get decently close to beating Jordan, but like that gap is pretty good considering how good of a team Jordan was this year. Again, beating a Monte Vista team, almost certainly their B team. Oh, they were actually unstacked. I apologize. When they're stacked, they beat Jordan. Beating Menominee, not bad. Beating Clinton from South Carolina. Again, Clinton, I'm not expecting to do too well. Boyceville Satellite, they do okay at. Again, getting beat by this Iowa team. But I think that was probably their worst performance here. And then we're back up here. So, again, homeschool science, I'm expecting to do a little worse, but overall, not bad. Not terrible. Pembroke Hill, we have very little data on, so I'll see if I can muster up anything. And yeah, it looks like I'm running out of time, actually. So I'm going to actually cut it off at 30 here. And then I'll make the next video the top 30. So Pembroke Hill, yes. We have one data point on. It's from John Derrick Memorial, and they do very well. They beat Blue Valley West, which is Kansas's state champion. Which again I have, no, it's Blue Valley North that's Kansas state champion. So they didn't even beat Kansas state champion. Whatever. Yeah, I have them up here. I wish I could explain why better. I wish I made a comment on this, but I did not. So I'm not really sure why I put them up so high. Maybe last year's nationals will lend some info. 35th. I have them one better. I don't know. Maybe they did quite a bit better at states, perhaps. Langley from Virginia, we have a decent bit of data on. Actually, never mind. We have one. We have one data point on them. I don't know why I didn't give them the purple then. And that's from Rickard. So Rickard's here. Again, not a great performance, but honestly not terrible considering some of these other rankings from some of these other teams here. Did I show you guys all the Baton Rouge scores? I'll do that real quick. Actually, this is it. Never mind. Yeah, Baton Rouge sent 3 teams to this, and they all did pretty bad. Even when super scored, they it's not great. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, back to Langley. Not a terrible score, all things considered. Actually got decently close to Great Neck South here. Yeah, actually, that's like a 20-point gap there. I always forget, is Great Neck South going to nationals? No, it's Ward Melville that's going. But obviously I have Ward Melville way higher than Langley. So, all right, we got to finish this up here. We're running out of time. So, Novi. Novi, of course, is the surprise nationals attendee from Michigan. Unfortunately, I don't expect them to do too well. I know I was talking with their team captain a little bit on Discord, and he was saying how they improved so much, and I kind of feel bad putting them this low. And yeah, they have improved a lot since the beginning of the season. But unfortunately, I think compared to a lot of these other national teams, they're just going to fall a little short. Again, Novi, prove me wrong. So, I'm really running out of time. Let's do this quick. Actually, this is the last team, Boca Raton, Raton from Florida. Birdso Satellite, they actually did pretty well here. However, a bunch of these really competitive teams ended up sending like their B team or something. So yeah, not as impressive as it looks necessarily, but still a good performance. This is MIT. So a decent performance here, and I am out of time. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next part when that comes out right after. See ya.